Good evening, everybody. My name is Ananya, and I welcome you all today to our first session of our daily newspaper analysis from today onwards. As you can see, the newspaper analysis is named as Roznama because this will be a daily newspaper analysis. And unlike other newspaper analysis that you might see on the YouTube, the speciality of our newspaper analysis would be that it is going to include the major newspapers like the Hindu, the Indian Express, Times of India, Hindustan Times, and various other international publications as well, as and when the need arises. And it will be a very, very short and crisp newspaper analysis, around 20 to 25 minutes. And what will we be covering? The major topics for the day, the important ones, things that you need to know a little greater need to have a little greater understanding into, and also we will be covering various one-liners as current affairs that you have to keep in mind with respect to your exam. And naturally, because Clat GK is all about covering the current affairs as well as the static bit associated with it, the session will be inclusive of current affairs and any other static information with respect to it that is important for your exam. All right. So without further delay, let us begin. The first article that you have to keep in mind, and that is doing the roundabouts for quite a few days in the past as well, is Trump's take on Greenland. All right. Now, this particular piece of news has been doing the rounds, and the news simply says that after undertaking this massive, take up of Venezuela after Venezuela by Donald Trump, Trump also hinted that he feels that Greenland is of significant national importance and security to the United States of America. Now, when you look at Greenland, Greenland is a Denmark territory, and US wants Greenland for itself. All right. Now, the entire news piece here, you can see that you have countries, that is the European Union countries, who have united, and there are about 8 of the European Union countries who have come together as protest against US takeover of Greenland. Okay. Now, not only is the United States of American President Donald Trump is hinting at a takeover of Greenland, but is also saying that countries who come in support of Denmark, US is, or come in support of, or come in opposition of the American takeover of Greenland, the president is going to impose tariffs. All right. And he has called for a 10% tariff rate. All right. Now, because tariffs have come into news, so just a little bit into tariffs that you have to keep in mind. Since the 47th president came to power, he came in with a vision known as MAGA, which entails Make America Great Again. And in his attempt to make America great again, he sought to undertake certain steps. One of those steps was imposing reciprocal tariffs. All right. Now, reciprocal tariffs was in news the entire last year, and through reciprocal tariffs, what he implies is that whatever rate of tariff is imposed on USA by any other country, the same rate of tariff US is also going to impose on that respective country. This implies reciprocal tariff, and on grounds of reciprocal tariff, as it was in news, US president did impose a tariff of 25% on India, and then an additional 25% was threatened further because India sought to take Russian oil. All right. This 10% tariff is the base rate tariff that he has announced under the MAGA program. All right. Now, reciprocal tariff is one of the visions under MAGA. Another vision under MAGA undertaken by the president is also one is reciprocal tariff, the other one being renaming of certain aligning bodies, like he has proposed to rename Gulf of Mexico, and the third one being the H-1B visa, hiking its fees so that more employment opportunities are generated for India, for the Americans in America, and they don't have to import talent from outside. All right. So keeping in line with his vision of making America great again, not only is he renaming water bodies and other things nearby, he's also trying to take territories. Greenland is the new target, and because Greenland is a colony of Denmark, Denmark is a part of the European Union. All right. And European Union has countries, a total of 8 of them, who have come together in alliance with Denmark. All right. Now, European Union, these 8 countries and Denmark, they're all part of NATO. All right. You can see here that NATO is also in news. Now, what is NATO? NATO implies North Atlantic Treaty Organization, established in 1949. And the purpose of NATO, specifically one particular article in NATO, which you will see in one of the editorials today in the Indian Express here. So I can see it here that NATO has an article, that is Article 5, which specifically talks about the principle of collective security, that an attack on any one of the NATO members will be considered as an attack on all of the NATO members. So these European Union countries who have opposed President Trump's take over Greenland, they have come in as a united front in support of Denmark and said that there may be a chance that these countries bring in or invoke Article 5 of NATO to secure or provide security to Denmark and Denmark's territory, that is Greenland. All right. Just a briefing into EU here. NATO, we have a total of 32 members, and a briefing on EU because European Union has come into picture. So European Union, the first idea was brought in 1946, where after the Second World War, they did talk about establishment of the United States of Europe, like that of United States of America. This was further formalized in 1951 through Paris Agreement, and then we had consecutive separate bodies that were established with a formal recognition given to it as European Union in 1992 through the Maastricht Treaty. Today we have 27 members to European Union, and a very recent current affair on this being that Bulgaria has become the 21st country to join Eurozone or take Euro as its official currency. It's a current affair for the month of January. All right. So these were certain articles with respect to Trump's claims over Greenland and the opposition that was raised by the European Union members. The articles given in the Indian Express, editorials from the Indian Express, and editorials from the Hindu talk about this entire news piece. So these are the news pieces that you have to read into to get a basic idea, and these are the basic information that you have to keep in mind with respect to Trump's claims on Greenland, the support of European Union members on Denmark, and why Article 5 of NATO may be invoked under this. All right. Then coming to the next important news piece for today is the Iranian unrest, and then these massive numbers which have come into picture, that so many people, the protesters in Iran, who have lost their lives because due to various reasons, they are unhappy with the entire system of governance that Iran presently has. All right. Okay. So because so many people were killed, the judiciary in Iran itself did come into picture, and they also raised certain objections to the massive killings or executions of the protesters. All right. Now, the articles on this or the news pieces here invoke certain things that you have to keep in mind. Firstly, that the protest began on December 28, and since then they have continued. What is the basic, what are the basic reasons behind these protests? Now, if you look at a little timeline, Iran was in news, has been in news since June, July this year because of the 12-day war. All right. We were anticipating a question in the Clat exam this year, did not come, still a probability for the 2027 Clat exam. We had the 12-day war, which was the Iran-Israel war, after which Iran came into picture. came into news. Then after this particular war, naturally Iran became a US target, and Iran has been a US target since 2015 or since before 2015. Why is Iran a target of US? Because Iran is undertaking nuclear developments, all right? When we say nuclear developments, Iran started undertaking development of nuclear facilities, specifically in three major regions in Iran. The three being Natanz. The names are important, please keep in mind. Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordo. All right. Okay. Because of its nuclear development, this did not go down well with USA, and USA first imposed sanctions, and then USA brought in a treaty with Iran. The treaty was brought in 2015, known as Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. All right. The treaty set a limit on Iran that Iran cannot build up its nuclear arsenals. Nuclear arsenals in the sense can't harness uranium, can't enrich uranium beyond a meager 3.67%. If Iran breaches this, then further sanctions, specifically under International Atomic Energy Agency, can be implemented on Iran. All right. Following this, USA withdrew from the treaty in the previous tenure of Donald Trump in 2020, and since then in 2018, sorry, and since then attempts were made to revise the treaty, renew the treaty, but nothing came out of it. Since then, relations between Iran and USA have been further strained, although this entire straining of relations can be traced back to the 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran. All right. Through this Islamic Revolution, the Iranian governmental structure became a diarchical structure. All right. When I say diarchical structure, I simply mean a rule by two. What does this rule by two imply? Meaning that they have a supreme leader who is the main commander-in-chief of their army, and they also have a limitedly elected leader, the president of Iran. All right. So this supreme leader is none other than Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, and the president is Masoud Pezeshkian. All right. Both of them establish a diarchical rule. The supreme leader is more powerful. The supreme leader establishes an Islamic rule, and this supreme leader is protected by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, or the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, that they are for specific protection to the supreme leader. All right. You will find another term in the articles consecutively, which I'm going to explain as and then. Now, the judiciary intervened, and the judiciary called this entire protest as Mohareb. Now, this is a term which you must keep in mind. And what does Mohareb mean? Mohareb simply means an Islamic legal term used for waging war against God, which is punishable by death under Iranian law. All right. So all this law, all these structures have been established by the supreme leader in Iran. All right. So this present revolution going on there is against such oppressive laws that have been established by the supreme leader since the 1979 revolution, and also because of such oppression, very limited development has taken place in Iran, and also caused massive unemployment as well as inflation. So whenever the people are not satisfied with the level and form of government, protests are bound to happen. The same thing is happening in Iran, and naturally the present Western government, specifically under United States of America, does not leave any stone unturned to point fingers at Iran. All right. So the same thing the present president is also doing in Iran. He's threatening for attacks, etc. He's calling for non-killings of Iranian protesters against the oppressive tyrannical rule of the present regime, and is also calling for intervention by United Nations Human Rights Commission for the number of people that are dying at the hands of the respective government. All right. So this is again an editorial on the same thing given in the Indian Express. These are certain things which you can keep in mind. Now here they do mention Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, this body established in 1979 itself, which seeks to give protection to the supreme leader, the Ayatollah. And also they talk about the Basij militia. All right. Now Basij militia is a term which is used in Iranian vocab only, and Basij militia is actually a volunteer group of paramilitary personnel. All right. This is like a national recruitment, a government recruitment, the IRGC, but Basij militia is a voluntary group, all right, through which you could recruit, where people can recruit themselves to get themselves recruited to help save the nation, all right. Okay, then coming to the next topic, a lot of Western countries, specifically like Germany, etc., they have condemned the violent repression. Here you all can see that they've quoted German Chancellor Friedrich Merz in that this particular oppression is disproportionate and brutal. All right. So a lot of Western countries, they have come in. Here you all can see that Trump has also mentioned interventions to save the people of Iran. Okay. All right. Then the next one that was in news is that Donald Trump is calling for establishment of a board of peace. All right. Now this board of peace, some writers, some authors in the newspaper have also interpreted as an offshoot of the United Nations Security Council. You will find articles in various newspapers which do consider this as an offshoot of the United Nations Security Council, where United States of America is going to have a major, greater say, all right, without interference of United States of America's enemies like China or Russia, all right. Now, for this board of peace, which he has proposed as of now, and he naturally has included various members of the US Congress, and also for this, he's invited our Prime Minister to become a part of it, all right. It is just a proposal as of now, has not been formalized, but it was in news. Because this was in news, you need to have a little insight into the Gaza peace agreement that was brought in by him. Now here, I've underlined the date for you all. It was on September 29th last year that the president had included, had talked about and proposed a 20-point program to bring to an end the Gaza conflict. Now, why 29th of September? Because this was during this particular time only, specifically from the 9th of September, that we have the annual session of United Nations General Assembly, where then the leader of Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, was also present there, and Donald Trump had made this claim that the Israeli Prime Minister has agreed to this 20-point program. Now, what does this 20-point program actually entail? This 20-point program simply talks about various steps that have to be taken to ensure peace in that particular region, which can be seen in terms of de-radicalization of the Gaza Strip, redevelopment of the Gaza Strip, immediate ending of war, then return of hostages on both the sides, and then naturally providing humanitarian aid. All right. So this particular body is undertaken, is supposed to be constructed to bring about peace to that Gaza after a 2-year war. All right. Here it's it's an article on the same thing, and they had two different views in the Indian Express. So here again, US President looks at expanding the UN mandate, and India's tasks is cut out in the sense that he's invited India to be a member of the board of peace. All right, that is going to see eventual peace in the Gaza region. All right, then this piece of news, which we are going to do very, very briefly. This was in news. It will again come up in news in February, so we'll take it up there in detail. But this was one major national event that has to be looked into a little in detail. So we have the president's rule coming to an end in Manipur. Not to an end, but the term, the second extension that was made, is supposed to come to an end in February. All right. President's rule in Manipur was put or implemented last year in February. It was extended again in the month of September, and then for another 6 months, and then the second 6 month is set to end in February 2026. All right, just a little basics into President's rule. Article 356 of the Constitution talks about President's rule, and Article 356 says that President's rule can be imposed if there is failure of constitutional machinery. Okay, failure of constitutional machinery. Again, one thing that you have to keep in mind, that President's rule used here is nowhere used in the Constitution. The Constitution under Article 356 uses the term state emergency. All right. This is an President's rule is an informal way of using the mechanism or what actually happens when state emergency is proclaimed. All right. But the term that is used in the Constitution, that is what you have to keep in mind, and that is state emergency. All right. Now, when we look at the provisions of President's rule, so President's rule at one time can be put in for a period of 6 months after approval by the Parliament. All right, by the Parliament, and then once put for 6 months, it stays put for 6 months, and then it can be renewed for another 6 months again after taking permission from the Parliament, approval from the Parliament. All right. Now, a President's rule technically can be put in place only for one year. If you are extending President's rule beyond 1 year in any respective states, that can be done only on 2 reasons. All right. Reason 1 being that the Election Commission of India says that right now, given the entire scenario in the state, violence in the state, riots, chaos, in such a scenario, elections can't be undertaken in the state right now. And the second is that in case there is a national emergency in the entire country. Okay, only under these 2 circumstances can state emergency be extended beyond 1 year. But in case it is extended beyond 1 year, it is implemented for another 6 months, then renewed in another 6 months. This can continue only for a maximum of 3 years. All right. So again, 1 year of President's rule is going to end in February, and the center is still thinking whether they should lift it or they should conduct it, or whether they should lift President's rule in the sense that they should end state emergency, or should they continue it for another 6 months. Why did this happen? This simply happened because violent riots broke out between 2 major communities in Manipur, the Meiteis and the Kukis. All right. The Kuki groups, however, have made it clear that MLAs from the community will not join a new state government without a written assurance from the center on separate administration materializing before the assembly poll. All right. The Kukis had a major disagreement with the Meiteis, and the Kuki tribe has said that the Kuki tribe MLAs will not join the new state governments until and unless the central government gives in writing that they are going to be an effective part of the state's administration henceforth. Okay, so this is what you have to keep in mind. Now, quickly moving to the other news pieces in brief that you have to keep in mind. All right. Now, when we look here, this was a major ad doing rounds on various newspapers, the Indian Express, even in the Hindu, the Times of India. And what they said was that the 86th All India Presiding Officers Conference is going to be held in Lucknow. Okay. Now, who are the presiding officers? The presiding officers are the presiding officers here imply the presiding officers of the Lok Sabha and the presiding officers of the state legislative assemblies. All right. So this is an annual meet that happens between the presiding officer or the speaker of the Lok Sabha and all the speakers of various state legislative assemblies. All right. So because speaker here is in news, state legislative assembly is what we are talking about. So just a little detail as to the articles which are involved with them. So the speaker of the Lok Sabha is Article 93 and the speaker of the state legislative assembly is Article 178. Okay. State Legislative Assembly is Article 178. Keep the articles in mind. What are the functions of the Speaker and of the Lok Sabha and the Legislative Assembly? That they are the presiding officers of the state and of the respective house, and also they have certain powers as to maintain decorum in the house. They have the right to decide whether a bill is a money bill, not a money bill. Also, they admit the motion, the Speaker of the Lok Sabha admits the motion as to impeachment of any Supreme Court judge, High Court judge, etc. All right. So keep these factors in mind. Then coming to the next one, this was in news that the Prime Minister unveils a 6,957 crore elevated corridor project in Kaziranga. All right. Now, this particular corridor, that is a connecting path, has been undertaken to facilitate easy, smooth travel, commutation, and also to give adequate protection to the wildlife in Kaziranga. All right. Now, because we are on Kaziranga, this has been in news, and also it talks about that there has been major, instances of encroachments, infiltrations, etc., which have neglected the entire prevention conservation of Kaziranga. All right. Now, because we are on Kaziranga, just a little information on Kaziranga. Now, Kaziranga is a national park. All right. And this national park was established in 1973. Where is Kaziranga? Kaziranga is found in the state of Assam, and Kaziranga has a specific speciality. And the speciality is that this particular national park houses the great Indian one-horned rhino. Okay, great Indian one-horned rhino. This is the special feature of the Kaziranga National Park. All right. Now, Kaziranga National Park is also a World Heritage Site, the same UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is a natural site, obviously, and this was declared as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in the year 1985. Then Kaziranga, because it houses tigers as well, Kaziranga is also a tiger reserve, and it became a tiger reserve in the year 2006. All right. And there is an albino tiger in this particular tiger reserve who has been nicknamed as Strawberry. All right, because it looks nice and pink and beautiful. All right. Then another thing about it, that one-horned rhinos are found here, and one-horned rhinos have been significantly, hunted, and they've been, traded because of their horns and everything. So there was significant dwindling of the population of one-horned rhino in this park. So the government, to increase and to better conserve the population of the Kaziranga rhinoceros, they also launched a program in 2005. The name of the program was Indian Rhino Vision. Okay. Indian Rhino Vision 2020, under which they sought to increase the rhino population to 3,000 by 2020, which was nearly achieved. I say nearly, not fully achieved. All right. Then another thing, it was a current affair last year that significant steps have been undertaken for better protection, conservation of the Kaziranga National Park and the Great Indian Rhinos and tiger reserves, tigers. So the Director General or the Director of Kaziranga National Park, Sonali Ghosh, Dr. Sonali Ghosh, she was in news last year. She has been awarded the IUCN Kenton Miller Award. Okay, this IUCN Kenton Miller Award has been for the first time given to any Indian. All right. Okay. Then quickly moving ahead. All right. Now again, the opposition party has been protesting against the new MGNREGA bill, which is known as BBG Ram G bill. Okay. Now what is MGNREGA? MGNREGA stands for Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. All right. The two words here, national, R stands for ruler and E stands for employment. All right. So what you have to keep in mind, that this particular program seeks to provide employment to people in the rural areas, all right? And it also has a G, which stands for guarantee, all right? So guarantee meaning that a compulsory provision will be made to provide employment to people in the rural areas, all right? So initially it was brought in 2005 and it sought to provide 100 days of guaranteed working days to the rural population. In 2025, last year, the government proposed a bill to not only change the name of MGNREGA, but also to propose certain changes in its various provisions, all right? So when we look at VBG Ramji, VBG Ramji stands for Viksit Bharat Guarantee for Rozgar and Ajivika Mission, and G stands for Grameen, all right? So ये particular program has been formed in a form of a bill right now, and इसमें अब changes क्या हैं? The MGNREGA Act sought to provide 100 days of guaranteed work. Now it seeks to provide 125 days. Then previously under MGNREGA, all expenses were borne by the center. Now it will be borne by the center and the state government, like that of a centrally sponsored scheme. So 60% expenditure will be borne by the central government, and 40% expenditure by the state government, all right? Another thing about this, that it also proposes an agricultural pause provision, okay? Now agricultural pause is supposed to be a 60-day pause, which has to be pre-notified by the state government, all right? And through this pre-notification, this is going to be the peak harvesting and sowing season, where the state government has to pre-notify that during this particular period, no work will be provided under VBG Ramji, and the farmers can do their entire harvesting, sowing, selling in the market season, all right? And another thing, that now because the state has also been included in it, the state every year has to cap a budget, okay? Has to cap a budget as to how much money they want to allocate under VBG Ramji. So now it is going to be more of a cooperative federalism rather than only a central sector scheme, okay? Then coming to the next news in brief, a very small part, because Dr. Ranjana Prakash, the Justice Ranjana Prakash Desai has been in news, and she's been in news for many reasons, because she's been heading a lot of things like the draft UCC committee of Gujarat, the UCC committee of Uttarakhand, then the delimitation commission, and she was also heading the Press Council of India, as well as she's been heading the 8th Pay Commission, all right? So as for the Press Council of India, the post has been vacant now, because the term was for 3 years, and she not only did serve as the head for 3 years, but she also got an extension, and now it has ended. So coming to the next one, yes, now this was a lit fest that Banu Mushtaq was attending. So here, because Banu Mushtaq was in news, and because International Booker Prize was in news, in the newspapers, I just thought of briefing you about it. So last year, Banu Mushtaq and her translator, Deepa Bashti, they won the International Booker Prize for the book Heart Lamb, all right? So when we talk about the International Booker Prize is awarded annually for works that are translated into English from any language. That is one thing. This International Booker Prize established in 2005, and initially it was given only to English writers or people who publish their books in Ireland or UK for that matter, Ireland or England for that matter. But now they've relaxed it, and anybody whose work has been translated into English can receive this prize. It has a prize money of £50,000, and from India, we've had 2 authors who won the International Booker Prize. The last year, 2025, we had Banu Mushtaq for Heart Lamb, and 2 years before that, we had Gitanjali Shri for The Tomb of Sand. Okay, all right. Then again, a term that you have to, just a meaning to it that you need to remember. Pentagon readies 1,500 troops for possible deployment to Minnesota. All right. Now, only the term Pentagon. So just keep in mind that what Pentagon is. Pentagon is the US Defense Office, where they deploy or have around 23,000 soldiers. And why is it known as Pentagon? Because it is a 5-sided building. So it is headquarters of US Department of Defense. All right. Okay. Then coming to the next one, again, very much in short, but this day, 60 years back, I think, 1966, India got its first female prime minister. All right. This is a good article which was in the Times of India. So what you have to keep in mind is she was the first female prime minister. She succeeded Lal Bahadur Shastri. And Lal Bahadur Shastri met with a sudden death when he had gone to sign the Tashkent Agreement in Uzbekistan in 1966 after the second Indo-Pak War of 1965. And then certain things associated with Indira Gandhi that you can keep in mind is that she was the first, not only the first Prime Minister of India, female Prime Minister, she was also the first Finance Minister, first female Finance Minister of India. She held the portfolio for a very brief period, but she is considered as the first female Finance Minister and also a female Finance Minister who presented the first budget as first female budget as first female budget. Then certain controversial parts, I believe everybody must be knowing the 1975 emergency, which was the third emergency and which brought in the 42nd Constitution Amendment Act of 1976 and then brought in certain changes to the provision of the emergency to the 44th Constitution Amendment Act of 1978. All right. Then certain things that she did on the environment front, which becomes important. Please keep in mind that 1972, she brought in the Wildlife Protection Act. 1973, it was under her that Project Tiger was launched. Then 1976, through this particular amendment, the 42nd amendment, she included the Article 51A, which is the fundamental duties in Part 4A of the Constitution. And through fundamental duties, one of the fundamental duties, that is AG, talks about protection of environment. Also for environment, she added Article 48A in the Constitution, which was Directive Principles of State Policy for better environmental protection. So this is with respect to environment that she did, and she actually laid a major solid framework for environment protection through India. Okay. Then that is about it. Everything with respect to today's newspaper, covering 3 major newspapers, the Hindu, the Indian Express, and the Times of India. So short news, long news, editorials, analysis. This is everything for today that you have to go through and keep things in mind. Okay. All right. So I'll see you tomorrow with the next one. Thank you.